Some popular uses of the CLiKAPAD system are for performing tests or exams or running quizzes. Now, the difference between those two in terms of the way we use the terminology is when we're doing a quiz, it involves showing winners live at the event or the session. Whereas tests and exams, more commonly, what you're doing is tracking the number of correct answers that each participant has given. So, in those scenarios, you're probably not going to show a winner live, but perhaps you are going to give out certificates or people will pass a course based on the score that they've achieved. Now, as well as the overall score per participant, you will be able to see exactly which questions they answered right and wrong. Now, whether you're doing a fun quiz or you're doing a test, the beginning section is the same. The first thing that we've got to do is set up our votes with a score for the correct answer. And there are a couple of approaches to that. So I'm going to start by taking a look at a standard voting slide. So I've got a slide here and it does have a correct answer. I'm recording this video on a Tuesday, so I'm actually going to set the correct answer as option 2, Tuesday, and anybody that presses 2 when I run that vote would get 1 point. So that's a nice simple example of one we can change, but we'll also look at creating some quiz questions from scratch. The other thing to bear in mind is you can make these look a lot more fun than what I've got here. I'm not going to cover in this particular video how you make the slides look fun. I think there's plenty of other resources for that. So go hunting on Google, for example, or watch some of our other videos. But essentially it's a PowerPoint slide, so it can look however you want. It doesn't have to be a very dull plain white slide with bullet points on it. Let's crack on and look at the back end though and how we get those scores set onto our slides. So we go up to add-ins and across to CLiKAPAD, and we'll go down to the slide editor. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to change here. The first is adding the score, and the second is I want this to use a countdown timer, not a count up box. So let's do the score first, and then we'll go and look at the vote settings. So next to the answers tab, which is where we land when we go on the editor, is another tab here, quiz settings. And what you can see is currently for any answer that you give, you will get a score of 0. That's because this was just set up as a standard voting slide that you would use for opinion-based polling. It's not yet been set up as a quiz slide. So to make it a quiz slide, it's very simple. Find your correct answer and click in the box to the left of it. And you'll see that that is now going to give people 1 point for answering Tuesday. If you're feeling particularly harsh, there's something else you can do. Let me just take Monday, and I'm going to click once, it goes green. If I click a second time, it says it's going to be -1. So you can use that method to stop people guessing. So they're going to lose a point if they get it wrong and gain a point if they get it right. In most circumstances though, people really just want to keep these white. So if I click again, it just toggles through from white to green to red and back to white. So each time you click, it will go to the next colour. And you can see as I do that, these go back to 0. So this is more what I'd expect to see. One more point to note in terms of scoring is the default amount of points is 1. So 1 correct answer, 1 point. What if you've got easy questions like this one, and then you've got some very challenging, difficult questions? You might actually want to change that. So it's a simple case of clicking on the score and changing it. So if we said this was a hard question and we want to give 3 points, I can just update that like so, and everybody that answers that question correctly will get a score of 3. Again, most commonly people use 1 point for correct and no points for incorrect. So I'm just going to put it back to that. Last thing on this page is how we want to show the correct answer. So what we can do, I've got this slide set up with horizontal bars. Let me just move this box so you can see what I've got now. So I've got these multicolored bars. What we could choose to do is make all of these bars one color and then highlight the one that's correct with a different colour. So I'm going to do that. It's currently set to not display that. I'm going to change that to display automatically, and I'm going to say let's show correct answers in bright green. it's not going to be very clear to people right now because every bar is a different colour. So one last change to make to go with that. We're going to go to the graphing tab and I'm going to go to graph settings and say make all same colour, and I'm going to make them all blue. Now what will happen is it will show a graph with all blue, as you can see here, but for each slide the bar will be updated to showing green for the one where you've given a score for that answer. So graph wise, I think that's enough to cover for right now. But the last thing that I wanted to talk about was that countdown timer. So let's go to the voting tab. Often we use a vote type of count up, and what that means is you'll have a votes cast box on your slide that shows you how many devices have cast their vote. If we change that to count down, it won't count the devices coming in. It will give people an amount of time within which to cast their vote. The default is 10 seconds. I know it doesn't sound long, but actually 10 seconds of silence is quite a long time. Perhaps try setting one up yourself and see how it feels running that 10 seconds in silence. Now the little tick boxes underneath are important with this as well, because if it was 10 seconds from the very moment the slide appeared, then that would be very quick, wouldn't it? You've got to read the question, you need to read all of the answers, and you need to make your decision, and you need to vote. So if you were going to have it start voting instantly, you might want to increase that to say 30 seconds. And again, we just click in the box and make a change. I'm going to keep mine on 10. And mine is okay on 10 because I've got this ticked box here, manually start timer. So what that means is it will come up with the votes cast box on screen ready, but it just shows a little play icon, and the timer won't start ticking down from 10 seconds down to 0 until I click to advance. So however you normally click to advance to the next slide or the next animation, that will trigger the timer. And the next one down says manually close vote, and that really does what you'd expect. So instead of it automatically closing when it hits 0, it will wait for you to advance, and that will stop the timer and show the results graph. So if you want it to automatically close at 0, just untick that one. The third one, show votes indicator, what that means is at the bottom of the box with the timer, you'll get a little blue bar that grows according to how many people have voted. So it's not relevant unless you're manually closing the vote. But what you can do is instead of making it close immediately when it hits 0, you could hold on. If you can see the blue bar is still growing and people are still voting, maybe you want to be a bit lenient and wait another few seconds for those final votes to come in and then click to close it yourself. So in terms of setting that up as a vote, everything's now done. So we're just going to hit save and go. And as you can see, it's updated Tuesday to have that green bar that we set up in the quiz tab. So if I wanted to make a second quiz question, I would just duplicate that slide and update the wording. So I'm just going to say, what month is it? And we'll have Jan, Feb, March, April. I don't know why, I can never bring myself to do the 3 letters for March. I should go back and change that. Easily done. Okay, so I'm recording this in January. So the problem we've got now is both questions show option 2 as the correct answer. In fact, for this one, it's not. Very simple fix. Let's go into the slide editor. Wait for the little box to appear. And once it does, we'll go to the quiz settings tab. Click, click, get rid of that one. So they're now all 0. Click on January and let's say save and go. And we're updated for our second question. So that's one way of doing it. We've taken an existing slide, we've made some changes, we've then copied it and made a new one. Another way that you can make your votes is to go into New Slide Wizard, Voting Slide Go, and have a look through the templates, and there are various quiz formats available to you. So let's say we'll take this first chunk, quiz with correct answer 1, quiz with correct answer 2. Basically, these have already got the scores set for you. So let's say we want to add one where we're going to put the correct answer as option 3. So let's choose that one, and it pops a slide in. And on this one, it uses an animation. So this will fly in from the bottom after you've shown the graph. So on your next click after you've closed the vote, you'll highlight the correct answer. Be careful with these. You absolutely must put the correct answer in the right place. If you simply move this, so you decide I'm going to make another one, but I'm going to say the correct answer is option 1, that's just a rectangle in PowerPoint. That will not change the scoring behind it. So if you do that, you've still got to go into Slide Editor and make that change on your points. So I would recommend that you pick the right one. There are all 4 options in there for the correct answers. So pick the right template and insert it. But you can go in and manually change them like so. And let's just do one more. So we will wait for our menu to appear. And notice there's a scroll bar here. So we've got quizzes, we've got picture quizzes, but we've also got some more here. So this is a kind of mock-up of a game show that a lot of you will have seen. So that's another style that you can do. And it doesn't look great at the moment. There's a couple of things you could do. You could give it a black background and it would straight away look better. But also, if you right click on it and choose this one here, keep source formatting, that will update it and that looks a bit more fun. So again, all you've got to do, type your question in, type in your various answers, make sure that you put your correct answer in the box that says correct answer so that the scoring works. So in terms of making your quiz slides, that's basically it. If you are just running these for tests, for exams, you are done at this point. When you run your training session or your exam, you get to the end and export your voting data, you will see that there are scores against each of your keypads, and you'll also see that the various cells are filled in green for correct answers. So that's basically you all done in terms of making a test or a quiz. For those of you that want to show winners live, there's a little bit more work still to do. So the first thing is define what type of quiz are you running? Is it individuals? Is everybody playing against each other? Or are you going to group them so people are working as a team? So for example, you might have 10 tables, each with 8 people, and you want to give everybody the chance to play along, but you want them competing as a table group, not as an individual. So you would need to then set up a team quiz slide and allocate the keypad numbers to it. We're going to start now looking at how to set up an individual winner. And that can be per round, it can even be per question, or it can be across the entire presentation. So all quiz slides within the whole presentation can be included. The reason that you might use a per slide option is you might have a spot prize for fastest finger, because what this will do is it won't only look at the number of correct answers, it will also consider speed of response. So you can have it showing the person that answered correctly in the shortest time. And even if you're showing that across all slides, speed of response will still count. So you will never have a problem with having a tie. If 2 people get 98% and they're the 2 winners, one of them will still come first because their speed will count. Nothing for you to do to set that up. Setting up the individual quiz results display is always the same, no matter whether it's per round or for all questions or one question. So let's go to the CLiKAPAD menu, new slide wizard, and we'll choose this one here, individual quiz results display. And let's say go on that. And you can see here the default is to say use all questions up to this point. So I've got my 5 questions and it will automatically include all 5 of those, and it shows me here what the question numbers are. So this would be at the end of the whole presentation, let's see who's won. This is the most common usage, so that's a good starting point, and that's what we're going to do for our first one, and then I'm going to make a second one and show you another method you can use. So let's click on next, and the defaults here, this will show you the keypads that come placed 1 to 3. So what that means is first, second and third place and what their score was. It will also use the slide master of your current presentation. So mine is going to make a rather dull white slide, black text type thing. So I'm gonna let it do that just so that you can see what that does. So let's just hit save and go, and we're all set with the first, second and third, and that's it. It's as simple as that. We're now just in PowerPoint as normal, so we can make things look a little bit different if we want to. So let's make all of these bold and bigger. It's just your normal PowerPoint functionality. Not very snazzy, but it is functional. It will work. Let's now make another one. So exactly the same again. New slide wizard, individual quiz. And this time we will say that we're going to do it per round. So I'm going to change this to custom. And let's say round 1 has got 2, 3 and 4 in it. So bring across question 2, bring across question 3 and question 4. And then when we make the next round, obviously we'll just include the ones afterwards and not 2, 3 and 4. On the display, I'm only going to make one change at this point, and I'm going to say use the quiz template, and let's hit save and go. And there we go. We've got first, second and third, but it's a little bit more fun looking. Again, this is all just PowerPoint, so you can change it as you need to. Final thing that I'd like to show you on this. Oh, don't click between the slides quite right. So let's click on a slide. If my mouse will work, which I don't think it did. Okay, let's use the touch screen and click on a slide. Okay, see if the mouse has come back to life. So let's go to new slide wizard, individual quiz, say go, and this time I'm going to do it as all questions, and in the display I'm going to do reverse order reveal of winners, which is a little bit more how we tend to do things naturally. So instead of showing first, second and third all in one go, what we might do is build up a bit of anticipation by showing the third, the second and then the first. So click on this one and say save and go, and it's made us 3 slides now. So we've got the third place and the second place and the first place. So we might have this kind of confetti only for the winner, for example. And again, of course, this is just PowerPoint, so you can go in and change how all of this looks. So I'm just going to send that image to the back, and let's just grab those text boxes and bring them down where we can see them. Oop. Bit of messy work by me there. Managed to grab the confetti as well, not what I was trying to do. Let's pick up just those 2 this time. Nope, it's locked it in again. There we go. Okay, so finally bring this one down like so. So these will always say keypad 1 and keypad 2 and so forth. This does not mean it's going to show on the screen keypad 2. What it's going to do is show you the keypad that is in second place and the score for the keypad that's in second place. So hopefully fairly simple for you to have a go at yourselves. Obviously we won't get any results on these until we've got some data on these. We haven't voted any of them. So if you were to test any of these slides right now, what you're going to get, let's go full screen, is your your simple slide with no winner actually showing on it, and there's my confetti. So these dashes are where that keypad would go. So just bear that in mind when you're testing, that you'll have to run through, vote on all the individual quiz slides, and then test your winners slides. So we're all done in terms of how you do an individual quiz. If you want to do this as a team quiz, there's just a little bit of extra to do, not very much. The process is very similar. So let's go into New Slide Wizard and choose Team Quiz Results Display and say Go. And you'll see this all looks very familiar, but before we only had questions and display. So when we said next, it went straight to display. We've now got an extra menu, which is Teams. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can ask people to vote themselves into a team, so they can choose their own team on a voting slide, and then you can go back and pick that. But more commonly, what we see people do is add our teams here. So I'm going to say my first team is table 1. And in table 1, I'm going to use keypads 1 to 8. So that is the new team. And then I'm going to add table 2. And let's say they've got keypads 9 through to 16. And you can see as I add those in, it works out for me what's sitting in that range. And those are my teams all now set up. So just keep going until you've got all of them. And then the display looks exactly as it did for individual quiz, but you'll see it's saying display items teams placed 1 to 2. That's because I've only set up 2 teams. So I can't show first, second and third. I can only show first and second. So again, you can adjust those as needed, but don't try to do your display until you've finished setting up your teams.